Hi, Carolina. Good to see you. That's cool. I have great people here. Nice. So, guys, what I'm gonna propose for this conversation, it's there's this little box with the interrogation sign here. If you guys wanna have questions for Andrew, just put it there. Because it's easy for me to see and get everything organized. Okay? So let's have our second conversation of the day. And this is gonna be fun because this guy is super skilled. Super skilled. I can't wait. I have a lot of questions for him, and I bet you guys have a lot of questions for him as well. So let's bring him on. Let me just boom, boom, boom. There we go. There you go. The man,
Hello.
the legend, Andro Vuco.
What's up, man? I
How's it
can't see
going?
your face. It's still connecting on my
It
ends, but I
is,
know
it
what you
is,
look like.
it
Yeah,
is.
it's all good though.
I'm dancing here. Yeah, let me know if you have any problems. We can always reset this, no pressure. This is super raw, so I'm not gonna do a lot of editing on these because I want people to see how we truly are. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the idea behind this. And thank you so much for making the time because I know you're super busy, doing a lot of things going on. But I think this is gonna be super fun. It's great. So we didn't have like much time to like chat in person, like seeing face of each other. But
Sure, sure.
yeah, but it's nice. It's nice talking to you, man.
Oh man, well, like, thanks for reaching out. This is like, it's super awesome that you're doing this, and like, yeah, this is us raw and live from at home. Just seeing us how we live. Yeah, like just lay it on me, man. I'm an open book today, so
That's awesome.
yeah,
Pretty
hit me.
cool. Pretty cool. Just put my thing here. Okay, man. So Andrew, you've been doing a lot of cool stuff lately, and you're doing stuff that involves our community, like the motion
Mm,
design community, to keep us together,
mhm,
to keep us doing stuff together. And you come up with this amazing piece from nothing to something, you know?
mhm.
How, if you guys don't know this piece, you guys should see it. It's amazing. It's a collaboration between amazing people in the industry, and the turnaround is it's great. It's so cool. So how did you come up with that idea, and how was the process behind that?
Oh man, well, like first and foremost, man, like I just want to touch on one thing that you said. You're talking about like creating stuff like for the community, and really like this community is so great that it's not. I don't feel like I'm creating stuff for the community. I feel like the community is is so inviting in a way for artists to showcase their work without a fear of being judged in a way that isn't beneficial,
Hmm.
right? I think like everybody wants to build each other up in this community, and I think that's great. So yeah, man, I don't think I've created something for the community. I think the community is what allowed this type of thing to like exist, really. Um, but yeah, like in terms of what you're saying about like from nothing to something, and where that comes from, uh, talking about like speaking raw and openly, as an artist, you always go through these like burnout periods, or these parts in your life where you're feeling like you have like a lack of inspiration or something like that.
Hmm.
And I think now more than ever in the past like 5 years, with like Behance and Dribble and like all these like uh, avenues that showcase like all this raw talent that's in the world, it's it really becomes overwhelming with the amount of amazing work that's
Hmm.
there. that there's almost like so much to be inspired by that I felt like almost a lack of inspiration, really. Like where I was just like this, just like it was like oversaturation of the brain.
It's overwhelming, right?
Dude, yeah, it's crazy.
It
And
is.
and that's not, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's like, how do you curate that like in your own brain?
Uh-huh.
And like, because all of us are like, it really also comes down to focus, because we're all like pulled in different directions. Oh, that 3D looked really cool. Oh my god, this like character illustration is like so beautiful, this style. And you're like, pull, like I honestly, I felt that way like upon seeing your work, man. You've posted some like pretty amazing stuff, and I was like, oh, like what if I try this, and what if I try that, you know? um, that's also the danger of being in such a small community, because there's
Yeah.
just so many people pulling you in different ways. Um, and so actually, I was like, okay, what is, why am I not feeling inspired? What is it that in me that's like not wanting to create during this certain period of my career, like a good couple months? And then I was like, fuck it, like what does inspiration mean, like, anyways, like what
Yes.
is it? So I just like Googled inspiration, and like the definition was like super interesting, actually. It was like inspiration is almost like a catalyst to do, which
Uh-huh.
means like execute, and then but also to feel something.
Yeah.
um, and I think it was like over the past, again, 5 years, like that emotional like resonance on like why we create was getting lost a little bit. Like I felt it's almost like we're seeing good work and we're just being reactionary to it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to create something like that, I want to do something like that, instead of just thinking like, how did this post by Ariel really make me feel? Like, did it make me feel like joy? Did it make me feel like sadness, or like a like depression, or
Uh-huh.
like did it make me angry that I don't have like X skill set, right? It's like, what is that like feeling? Um, and how do people, and upon like really visualizing what those emotions are, you can really witness like the catalyst of like why you can create, right? Like, or the response on like why you're creating. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I am creating because it's a joyous thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm creating because I'm pissed and I want to be better, right? uh, so the project actually really stemmed from that. It was like focusing more on like the emotional resonance, as opposed to like the execution based, like one-off like projects that one can post. And uh, and yeah, it was also very cathartic to be able to do that. uh, a good avenue, like, what actually eventually snowballed is just thinking about inspiration, and all the people that I've been inspired by throughout my career, from like early on to like more recent years,
Mm-hmm.
and just to like reach out to like these people and say like, do you feel the same way like I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you felt yourself in that position as well?
I think everybody in the industry got to a point that we feel so overwhelmed with information and inspiration. It because we have like so many different social networks that we can, upload content, upload projects, in our case, like animations and designs and everything. And we keeping fed by these amazing minds that are putting such a great work out there. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, you feel like shit. Sometimes, like you feel like shit. You feel like, what, I'm still doing this? Am I? And you ended up questioning yourself sometimes. Am I good enough to be, posting this? Am I? And sometimes it gets you to the other side, which is the imposter syndrome. Like
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I think it's, we live in this river of information, and if we don't take care of the things that we're browsing, or to put ourselves in our place, we're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. We're gonna be stressed. We're gonna be depressed. We're gonna be like, feel completely crazy, and that's going to
Yeah.
lead us to burnout. That's going to lead us to a lot of other inside issue stuff, you know.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned just kind of sparked something is that I think a lot of people, we're all human, right?
Totally.
I
Yeah.
think like we all feel like shit at some point. Like I think uh, it's like public speaking, right? If
Yes.
somebody like says that they're okay before speaking in front of like a massive crowd, they're fucking lying.
They're
Like there is like
lying, of
always like
course.
a point, there's always a percentage of being like nervous or uncertain or anxious. And
Mm-hmm.
like I think the example of that is like if you like don't deny your feelings like
Mm-hmm.
as like an artist because those are actually like your most powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're not always going to feel like great or confident or like joyous like going into something. You might be feeling pissed, you might be feeling sad, but like if you can like fully realize that emotion and like actually use that energy to like help you like push forward, that becomes a really powerful thing,
And
right?
that's gonna lead to the catharsis that you talked about, you know, in your project, because you said like your project would mainly pure catharsis in a way, you know, the way that
Yeah.
you do it. So like this collective feelings, that things that you want to put out, you know, when once you get to that point that you want to put it out, you know, that's when a project like this, like project that yourself are doing
Mhm.
for the industry, come out, you know. And I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I can see the passion in that project for sure.
Thanks, man. And to
Yeah.
that point, like I think that uh, when you finish a project, it's not the end of the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually like, and it actually doesn't become your project anymore. It
Yeah.
becomes like the community's project, and that's
Yeah.
like the second. That's almost the second lifespan of it, where it's like you're giving your baby out to the world, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
seeing if people accept it or don't accept it. And like, you know, when you have a child and when you have a baby, it's like, it's not always going to be perfect. And there's going to be like, you know, hills and valleys that it goes through. And then, but it's out of your hands at that point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's up
thank,
to the world.
yeah.
It's up to the world. You did your
Oh,
you
yeah.
did your best. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We did our best, right?
And it came out great, man. Yeah, awesome. I'm so glad that
Oh,
you
thank you.
brought up such a great points, because part of these conversations that I'm having with those artists, I just don't want to talk about keyframes. I just don't want to talk about designing, but I want to talk about the human side, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like the pressure we feel, the anxiety, you know, like if do you feel sometimes intimidated by a project? Do you feel anxious when you get this project, or is there like a different feeling when you were approached by a client that you were really willing to collaborate, but you think it's too much? Did you get this experience before?
I think like almost constantly.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a bit of that. Like again, like you could go up public speaking a zillion times and like you
Yeah.
could still feel like a little bit of
Like,
uncertainty because
like for example, do you feel like do you put pressure on yourself to overcome your past project in each new
mm,
project, for example?
I think like this might dance around the question, but I think like it's good to approach every single project with like a
Mm-hmm.
beginner's mind
Mm-hmm.
where it's like um, there's something to learn on this
Mm-hmm.
project.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something that like so I don't think it's like a pressure like on what like and I can't speak for like every artist out there, but for myself,
Sure.
it's not like pressure to perform, but I feel like I want to be able to go into a project and leave with something.
That's cool.
So whether it's like a fully fleshed out piece or a learning experience of
Mm-hmm.
something that was done right or something that was done wrong on the project and something that could be improved upon, like I think like that's a good mindset to enter projects on. It's also like a realistic mindset because
Mm-hmm.
like you can go into a project with like the best intentions, and you could be
Yes.
firing on all cylinders, and something else like can completely derail that, right?
Yeah.
And to be able and to have that existing pressure on yourself before going into that and having
Hmm.
something derail, it's not healthy for an artist.
Totally. Yeah,
Definitely.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you find in projects, like not only projects like personal projects, but do you find like in real client projects opportunities to explore different uh, techniques or different tools, different uh, animation beats, something that you wanna do differently in a way?
Um,
Or do
I
you
mean,
think,
like, are you speaking in regards to like, do I take on projects that have those qualities,
no,
or
like
like when?
if you use like any kind of project, like client related project to do these explorations as well?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like, again, this is a very unique take
Yeah.
to like artist to artist, and especially what your position is are you an artist or are you a studio, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that cli clients can have good ideas,
Yes.
is what I'll say, and clients have needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And agencies, and you need to be able to like see where the ceiling is with that while still meeting their needs, and then see like what that gap is, to be creative, like really like creatively explore yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like, um, it can be dangerous because sometimes like people just want to go in and they can be amazing and talented, and they want to be putting their best work in, but then they might not be meeting that need of like what
Mm-hmm.
the client is wanting, and they might be just be creating for themselves, which can be very dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you want to have existing relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, you're not getting that phone call or that email for being able to execute,
Yeah.
right? So you need to be able to like go in the first like 10% of the project and establish like what that gap is for you to like really play, and then establish that with whoever you're collaborating with, and then like
Uh-huh.
go and then go a little bit extra, right?
That's
It's not
cool.
about like safe in that space, it's like go a little bit further, and then
Uh-huh.
it's always easy to like pull you back and like into what you're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think it's you're one of those guys that do two versions, one of the versions for the client and the other version that you think it's going to be the most beneficial for the project and for your portfolio as well?
Yes, I mean, like, not for the portfolio, but it's really like what is the best solution,
No, but I mean,
right?
when I
I
mean the
think.
portfolio, it's for the best, like the best. Because sometimes, we all ended up having some clients that they don't have any fucking idea what they want. You know,
Mm,
they just
sure.
have the idea of the product, they know how the product work, but they don't know how to promote it. They just tell me, and they sometimes they're super conservative, they're super, like strict. And how do you usually work with those guys, with the people that don't know about animation? And I'm not talking about agencies, I'm talking like about like straight clients, like people they don't, because you've been doing a lot of cool stuff for brands, like they are startups, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Well,
clients like that, how do you keep a conversation creatively with this client, that, because they have this more technical side in their brains?
yeah, I think there's a level of education that
Yeah.
always like goes into it, going in, and it's again, you like, I know the easy non-answer is like every situation
Hmm.
is unique. Like, I
Yeah.
know that's a non-answer, but um, like a lot of people, at least in my case, the education aspect has been really fun, you
Hmm.
know, and you need to be able to, have that conversation within the first like week of your project to be able to flag Like, is this like a road that I really want to go down, right? Because if it's like an education thing and they're like, oh yeah, I get it, I trust you, that's a really good sign.
That's
But
cool.
if it becomes like more of like a real hand holding experience with a lot of resistance and pushback, that's where you got to start weighing your options, right? And I'm not saying like I haven't been down projects like that, and those projects have actually also been creatively very lucrative, but how much stock do you want to be putting into that and not creating? I think it just depends about what your goals are and where you are in life. You know,
Totally.
I know different, man. Like I've grinded on projects because of vision and stuff like that, for sure. I'm sure you have as well.
For sure.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
part of the game. It's part of the game.
yeah.
And I have this question a lot, and
Hmm.
but I wanna get your take on it. How do you say no to a project, and how do you correct a course when, like, for example, the client approaches you with this uh, brilliant idea, and during like in the middle of the project takes another course, and the client takes another mindset, and you guys starting to clash. So these two
Hmm.
questions, how
Hmm.
do you approach that?
So how do you say no? Easy answer. I think there was like a site that was just put up or something I came across. It's just like how to say no through like an email, and it's just like copy and
I
paste
think
or
I saw
something.
I think I saw that too,
Yeah.
but I don't remember. Yeah.
That's I won't take that way out, but like I think like as a professional and for like
Hmm.
from like the artist's uh, to the artist's advantage, like you obviously like say no with respect, but
Yes.
you want to be able to keep that door open,
Hmm.
right? And I think like a lot of people get really ticked off at like projects that come in asking for like a grand, like a 5 minute video or something like that,
Hmm.
and then they post it like on Twitter and they're like, what the hell is this, you know? And I think like, yeah, there's a lot to be upset about in that, um, but there's like education that comes with that.
Hmm.
I think you say no, but then you also like inform people like of real costs, so
Hmm.
that like the next person they meet, it's not like just like another insult, like, and
Hmm.
it's not like it's intentional. It's just like I think if everybody takes like just minor steps to educate like people of like costs, that's like a good thing.
Hmm.
So when I say no, and it's not even just a cost thing. When I say no, I always just say, oh, consider this, or if it's a good project, everything like there's check boxes all across the board, and
Hmm.
it's just not aesthetically the right fit. Um, hit them with a good reference, you know, like
Hmm.
a buddy or like somebody that you've seen online or somebody that you can vouch for, because that goes a long way, you know. And if you give them a good experience, they'll email you back. Yeah,
That's right.
it's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
that's
Um,
cool.
to your second question, could you refresh me quickly on what that
Yes.
was?
Yes. No,
Yeah.
before I rephrase that, I'm just gonna add another question on top of that,
Mm.
since you mentioned this checklist. Is there like
Yeah.
when a client sends you a require, is there like a Andro's Vuco checklist that you said, okay, I'm gonna take on this project? Do you what are the points of advantage do you see when you receive a inquiry of a project?
Uh, Schedule, cost, and creative
Uh-huh.
probably are just like the major ones, right?
Yeah.
I think there's like, I think like there's like some sort of like rule where it's like there's three things on the table, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
is relationship, uh, is it good money,
Mm-hmm.
and is it like creatively satisfying? And if
Yeah.
like two of those three things are good, then like you can go deeper into like what those things are,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? Like, and I think then like the 3 is like the Goldilocks, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's usually how I initially like weigh projects in terms of like a real checklist. I don't think that's like I going into that much detail I don't think is beneficial to anybody because
Mm-hmm.
like you want to be able to as just like gut feelings are really good too, you know? If
Uh-huh.
something just doesn't sit right, something's not reading right, you have like a weird vibe on like a call, like those things, like again, like talking about like feel like looking at your emotions, it's really indicative of like what the project is going to be like, you know?
Yeah. And do you get usually do you accept project only for the portfolio side, or do you need to have like this combination of everything?
No, yeah, man. Like, of
Yeah.
course, like sometimes there's like, uh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
It's an
Yeah.
investment, right?
Sometimes it's like, sometimes it could be an investment. Sometimes it's just like, man, like I really wanted to work with this, you
Yeah.
know, like for a long time. I mean, like, I'm not saying like give away your work for free or for cheap. That's not what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying. But sometimes there's just like, oh my God, like,
Yeah. I
yes,
no,
please.
I
Like,
100% agree with you. People will be shocked with the amount of money that I make doing a music video for Led Zeppelin, but
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah. Music
but
videos. Yeah.
yeah, but for me, like it was an investment, and of course, I'm a huge Led Zeppelin. So for me, I gained. It was like for me to gain like a free pass to go to backstage with the band, or like so. You receive. There's a way to receive for the projects you produce without being only just money.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
But
cool.
you
So
got to go into it being able to like know how to leverage
yeah,
that to your advantage, right?
totally.
Like, yeah, you go into those projects like with it in writing that I can like showcase this. I did a that's one learning experience that I'll say. You can sometimes be blinded
Mm-hmm.
by like how cool a project is, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't like name like any sort of things right now, but like a couple years ago, there was like a project that was like one of the most exciting things like I've received, and very little budgets. Creative was very open, but in like those little details, there's just like, oh, you can't like show like X Y Z, you know,
Yeah.
like here and sometimes you can go into a project thinking like, oh, there's no way like I won't be able to show this, you know, you know, like I won't hit that wall, but it happened. It
It
happened,
happens, right?
and it was a shame. But like, so if you're gonna go into those things, like make sure that you know what you're gonna leverage out of
Mm-hmm.
that, and fight for that one thing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Mhm.
So the question that I made before was something like this: when you get a project for a client, and this project is like a dream project. It seems like it's a dream project, and in the middle of the road, you and the client start to bump into each other, and some clashes begin to happen. How do you uh, correct the course? Because you seem to be a very calm guy. I don't think you stress at all in things like that.
Well,
You're
that's not true.
really.
Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, just based on what we talked about before, like everybody feels everything, right?
Yeah.
So Uh, yeah, and there is a professionalism that and calmness that has to just come through experience,
Mm-hmm.
and like obviously like everybody still like everybody still has so much more to learn, right? And I would say that I've been on projects like that, and usually when something is going a different direction that is almost like too far of a reach from where you started,
Mm-hmm.
the client or like agency or whoever you're collaborating with usually has like a good idea that that is happening as well, so you can be able to have like that conversation saying like, listen, like this is not really the right fit,
Yeah.
And I think like you know it and I know it. And like if it's a good relationship, you can do that. And if you don't feel like it's a good relationship, I would just do that anyways, because that
Uh-huh.
actually shows like a massive level of professionalism.
Uh-huh.
Because what that is actually saying is like I give a damn about like your end product,
That's
you
cool.
know? And like if we can introduce like a kill fee into this that like liberates you to like be able to finish this with like
Uh-huh.
that type of quality, and I can walk away being happy with the funds that I've received. But like I think that that is the best way to go, but that's the perfect world way of going about doing it. Whether that actually happens is could be anyone's guess, but that's usually how I like to handle the projects. And that was just like the same thing as like saying no before. It's like you always
Mm-hmm.
want to leave them in the best spot
Yeah.
upon like leaving the project, because even if you leave a project and it's not the right fit, they'll call you back because of that, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Totally agree. 100%. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, do you do actually a lot of educational content, and you put out like a course and things to inspire people. And as a teacher, a mentor for a lot of young minds out there, do you still have time to learn something different? Do you still have time and interest in learning different softwares or something that can help you to give some more input to your craft?
Yeah. I think we're always learning. It's just about how um, go about doing it, really. Like I think what a lot of people always hinge on is I gotta learn, oh, there's like this new script, or like there's this upgrade in like the software. Um, a lot of the partners like I usually work with when like we're working in the same comps or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, what version are you on? And I'm on some old version of After Effects, and I'm not using like whatever script that is like you can do in like one click. And like that's why actually a lot of my like keyframes are like done by hand and just by
Uh-huh.
like eye and stuff like that. And so I think like maybe too, not to say it's not important, but too much stock is put onto
Uh-huh.
that stuff,
Yeah.
that type of like learning and education. Uh, in terms of what like I'm currently like learning right now is a lot more on the business side of things,
Okay.
and there's always stuff to be like learning on that end as well.
That's part of the
You
game.
know,
Yeah.
it's part of the game. Yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
you want to like protect yourself, you have to have some sort of like
Of
foundation
course. Of
in
course.
like how to protect yourself, like how to
Mm-hmm.
conduct yourself, how to talk to people, like the
Yep.
right questions to ask.
Yep.
And that comes with practice too, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just like you can know like every single new plugin, and like your box can be like to the nines, like in terms of like you could have everything on there. But if you don't know how to sell yourself, if you don't know how to pitch something, like you
Yes.
don't know how to like talk, then like you'll never get to use any of those tools and like what you've learned. Like
How
it's
how
like,
how how old are
yeah.
you? How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Yeah, I think that's it, man. I think it's part of I've been learning that our industry we have this peak of interest in some areas in the industry like softwares, plugins, scripts, whatever, like shape layers, whatever they put out there for
Mhm.
tutorials. And after a certain age, 30s, like 32, 33, we shift our spike to different learnings. We stop learning softwares and we go to the more business side. We go to the more like strategy. We go, different
Mhm.
aspects of the industry. And that's interesting to hear that from you, because I kind of took the same shift at the same age as you. And
Mhm.
some people that I've been talking to, they took the same shift as the same, basically the same age, like 33, 34. So they starting to learn different things. So I,
Yeah.
I think it's nice to see that happening, like it's interesting to see that our industry has mature peak, you know, in a way. I think it's
Yeah, it's
natural.
true. Yeah, of course, man. Like like I feel like the 20s, you're just trying to figure out what you love.
Yep.
And then once you figure out what you love, you want to hone that craft, right? You want to refine, refine, refine. That's like almost like the late 20s.
Yep.
And then like after you've refined it, you're like, I have all this equity in this skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how am I going to apply it, right? And
Yeah.
like, it doesn't mean like at this age or whatever, like, or like the maturity that you hit in this industry is like I have to open my own shop. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
No,
Like
no,
it's
yeah, of
like it,
course.
yeah, yeah. It's always like there's all these rings on the ladder, and you're just like it's not like in a corporate way where you're like, okay, I'm gonna be like the manager, and then I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, and work your way up to CEO and doing. It's not. It doesn't really work that way, and I don't think that that's a healthy way to think because you have to also think about what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think
Yeah, it's
as you said before, it's we're just trying to find a way to protect ourselves. You know,
mm,
it's not only about keyframes like this beautiful shining gradients, and you know, it's about this is a business. You know, what we are doing here is business. You know, we are providing content to clients. We're not doing just art and putting to the world. You know, and that's it. You know. So
God, yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's interesting that
yeah,
you're telling me that you're learning this kind of areas. It's so cool.
yeah,
And
man. That's
you put a lot of educational content, as I mentioned before. Why did you decide to do that? Because I think this is no, this is it's really
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
It's something that I really wish I could do more. And I know it's a hell of a work, man. It's super intense because you have to
Mm,
record your classes, you have to think about classes, you have to do pay attention to details. It's crazy,
mhm.
you know. And
Yeah.
kudos to you that you put out there
Oh, thanks,
something
man.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. And yeah, it was a multifaceted decision.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. First and foremost, my mother is a teacher.
Oh.
She was big into education. So that was always kind of I think it's subconsciously that affected something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I've also been to like every type of school like known to the world. Like I've been to Montessori, I've been to public school, I've been to private school, I've been to college, university, uh like Catholic school, like just every school like known. So I've seen it from all sorts of different angles. And then at the end of the day, um, what I learned, like design and animation and direction, was all self-initiated. That's not to say like
Yeah.
those schools weren't. Those schools taught me how to learn,
Yep.
but they didn't teach me the content in which like I built like a career on. Right. So that was really interesting to me because I was like, okay, maybe I can create something that's like a bit more accessible for people, even though many people are doing it as well. I also saw kind of a market gap uh, in terms of like process,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like not just going into the box and like creating like a keyframe and the design. It was just more about like how you build up to that because I think a lot of people have trouble working their way up to execution because they don't feel like they have like the core idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think like for me, what was really important and how I learned after school was through mentorships, right? And it's what I've been hearing a lot is that it's just, yeah, mentorship is like great, but like, how do I get one, right? I applied to like every studio and I've reached out to so many people and like
Mm-hmm.
I can't get mentorship. It's difficult.
It
Like
is.
accessibility for that is difficult.
It is.
So I really wanted to try and make something that was like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like you're having a conversation with somebody else like one on one instead of like something that was like super instructional,
It's like
you know? It was just like,
codes, right? Yeah.
yeah. So I just did it because I felt like there was like that gap, And credit to where credit is due. Like Joey from School of Motion, shout out to that guy, and a little bit of a plug. Like
He's the
they
nicest
don't need
guy.
it, but
Nicest
yeah, they
guy.
don't
Yeah.
need it, but like yeah, they're doing amazing. And like had long chats with him. He was extremely helpful along the
Uh-huh.
way in terms of just like yeah, like a guiding force on what that side looks like.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, and having done it, it was like it's insane amount of work, man. It's
Dude,
crazy.
I know,
It's
that's why I'm
crazy.
asking.
It's
It's
crazy.
super, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of
Yeah,
work, you know.
it's pretty insane. I think like probably the production time of everything is probably like a year and a half. I'd
Jesus
want to say.
Christ.
Yeah,
A year and a
dude, like
half.
my hair was like here when it started. You know, it's like it's insane. Yeah.
Man, it's crazy, dude. And it's amazing course.
Mhm.
I've been hearing a lot of great stuff about the course, and man, yeah, kudos to you to do something like that to the for our community. It's great. I have a great question here
Mhm.
from Lana Sketch. Lana, you're very skilled. I love your work. And she
Oh,
asked,
thank you.
she asked, can you tell us about something you've learned the hard way?
Oh,
Good question.
good question. Something that I've learned the hard way.
Yep.
I yeah, it's honestly, what is a good example of that? Uh, I don't want to get into like more like skill set based stuff like software, blah blah blah, because like that's kind of like I feel like that might be a bit low hanging fruit because you can
Mm-hmm.
always learn that stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think like maybe what that question is reflecting to is like you've made a mistake, like
Yep.
on a job, like you
It
made
could
the
be
wrong
like,
call on a job, you said
yeah.
the wrong thing. Yeah. Uh, yes, there have been many of those, right? Like you mentioned before that, like I seem to deal with things like calmly in a mature way, and that comes through refinement, and that comes through failure.
Uh-huh.
And I think like you gotta like fail your way to the top, basically. And you're whenever you start something new, like you're always gonna be like super shitty at it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think like the people that really succeed are like the people that come back to it like the next day and are like less shit that like the next time, you know? And then
Totally.
you just yeah, I think there was like a saying like fail again, fail better. And like
Mm-hmm.
that's basically like a mantra for like life, like right?
Yeah,
So yes, like plenty of those, man.
that's
Yeah.
cool. So you mostly do After Effects things. Is there any other tools that you use to create your amazing stuff?
Oh, in terms of like tools, it's basically Illustrator and After Effects, like in
Mm-hmm.
almost like its purest form, I'd say. Yeah, if you looked at my setup, you'd be like, "Where's all the stuff?" You know, what's going on? I think that uh, yeah, in a lot of cases, like I'm probably repeating myself here, but like
Mm-hmm.
less is more,
Mm-hmm.
and like the less that the less tools that you're working with, like the better you could be at those
Mm-hmm.
tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? And again, that's just like an approach thing. Like you could be a generalist, and that doesn't work for you.
Yep,
But for me, like having less is more, and like I get to really be better at those things by just like focusing on like really honing those aspects.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Do you have any interest in adding like some more of a 3D or some other techniques to your videos?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
3D is something that is on the radar right now. If you've
Mm-hmm.
probably heard me talk about like 2 years ago, I was like, I don't need 3D in my life. You know, I don't need all that. Um, but yeah, there's some 3D on the horizon, and that's I can't really touch any more on that than I'd
That's
like
cool.
to.
That's cool,
Yeah,
man. That's cool.
yeah, yeah.
I have a question here from Alexi Design. What is the knowledge non-related with motion design that you found more useful for the motion path?
Oh, okay. So I think I see that question.
Yeah.
Let's see it again. I got to read that again. What is the knowledge non-related with motion design that you found more useful on the motion path? One thing that I learned, which is really helpful, and this might not be answering the question, is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, relationships are pretty key to this industry. I'm not talking about like getting work. I'm talking
Yeah.
about like succeed, just like all like a rising tide like raises all ships sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the benefit of like keeping really close relationships in this industry is that you could form really great feedback loops, which help elevate your work.
Yep.
If you know like a lot of people who are working in even different facets of the industries and you're sharing work here and there for just like general input, that's like super helpful. And that's again why this community is so great, because I think
Yep.
that there's like a general openness to comment on things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if like I receive an email by anybody, like I'm usually I make a point to respond with some value in there. And I think like I hopefully can speak for a lot of people in this community that they're the same. So I would like really just like take advantage of that and
Cool.
like leverage that and form like stronger relationships because people are open. Yeah.
Do you still go to studios, or you don't do studios work anymore?
In terms of, do I go into studios or do I work with studios?
No, if you go into studios and work on, we don't have much in Toronto, right? It's mostly Tendrew and a couple of Phil.
There's a good chunk of like talented like studios here.
But I mean, do you do work in-house with those studios, or do you mainly work? Yeah.
I do not. It's not. It's kind of a bit of preference.
Mm-hmm.
I function better on my own box.
Mm-hmm.
And now what has been proven in the past few months,
yes,
is that working remotely really does work, and you can create just as good work remotely, if not better.
The world is proving that we are right. Correct?
Yeah,
that's cool.
But
man.
there is beneficial. There are benefits to working in studio. It's like there is like an energy in like a studio that is you can't put your finger on it. Like it's really beneficial, I'd say, for younger to intermediate based artists, even like some senior artists, like where you can really thrive off of that. And that's like, it's called a studio for a reason, right? Like a study, it's where you go to learn. And those things are pretty critical, like the communication that happens within these places. So I wouldn't get off the board. Just in terms of where I am, like career wise, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
A lone wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a good question here from Motion CJ. Any advice for kiddos fresh out of college? How to get clients, jobs in the middle of a pandemic? Good question. Good question.
That's like a loaded question, like all the time, with like the layer of the pandemic. That's like yeah. I just say like really this is going to be the same answer as before, but really like reach out to the people that you admire.
Do you use LinkedIn a lot?
What's that?
Do you use LinkedIn a lot to reach out to people? Like companies
LinkedIn,
that you like?
Yeah, LinkedIn is like is good. I would say maybe it might be more beneficial to reach out not to artists at that stage as opposed to like Google or something like that. You know, because like and then by all means like reach out to those big companies, like if it's not going to burn too much energy from you. But like I think there's a lot of value in reaching out just directly to artists, getting what their take is on the industry in the city that you're in. right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the vibe, what studios are around, who should I talk to? Again, people are really good and they'll point you in the right direction. So that's a good tip to consider. In terms of like the pandemic, it's actually reaching out to artists is even easier now in the
It
pandemic
is.
because we're not going anywhere, right? So like
That's why I'm doing
it's
this. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Um, like I would just say first like because you don't want to give like too much advice and then it's just like overwhelming. But like I would
Yeah.
just say like reach out to like-minded artists at like just like levels above you, and then this is gonna sound so cliche, but just really care about like what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like really like give a shit about like the work that you're putting out there, and like go full measure on things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like really like if you're gonna do a personal project, like really do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it half-assed. And at least that is what worked for me when I was starting out, is that um it's not like there's like a blood oath or something like I have to like sleep 2 hours a night. It's not
Yeah.
about that. It's just about really like caring about like what you're doing, because ultimately after caring enough about something, you're going to create what is ultimately like a style, which is what everybody is after, right? Because if
Yeah.
you do something enough, you're going to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and then you're going to find yourself in these positions, right? So
That's cool.
yeah, that's what I recommend, man.
Man, that's great. That's great. And I had a question for you, but I completely forgot. It was something. It was really, really nice question. Anyways,
Hmm.
how do you see Andro Vuco in 5 years? Do you have like a do you have a plan set? Do you have plans? Do you have like goals? Uh, where do you want to lead
Yes.
yourself?
There's going to be a short answer, but
Cool.
like, yeah, like definitely have goals and places I want to be in the
Hmm.
horizon. But for what those are, I can't really say just
Uh-huh.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know what they are, but okay, I'm not gonna say. No, okay. But it's cool, man. Yeah. So, Andrew, I really appreciate your time talking to
Oh,
us.
dude.
I know you're super busy. I just wanted to know that you were a very skilled guy. People in the industry love you. I love your work. I think you have something really nice out there for us to look after. And thank you so much for making the time to be here with us and talking to us and to give a little bit of your perspective on things. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, dude, well, like, thank you, for like the really kind words and like the really amazing questions, and like for creating like a platform where we can all just like have these types of conversations, and that it could be really like just helpful for anybody who's in a weird position
Yeah, of
right now,
course.
coming
That's
out of school and stuff like that. Yeah. No, man, thanks. This has been really fun, and it's yeah, always good to talk to people during these times, right?
it's amazing. It's amazing. And even for us because we've been quarantined for a very long time. I've been working from home. You've been working from your studio. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice to talk to exchange information and yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much,
yeah.
man.
Cheers, man. Okay, we'll talk soon.
Talk soon, buddy.
Okay.
Take
See you,
care.
man. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.